Even our dating relationship or our first year of marriage was us choosing one another, and we both pretty much resented one another for quite some time. And man, God is good, because he is really made a broken story beautiful. Hey guys, so today, like I said on Friday, today I'm sharing all of the personal Q&A questions that you guys asked in my Insta story sticker. So again, if you don't follow me on Instagram, that's where I ask your opinion on a lot of things that I do here on YouTube. So if you want to have a say in some of that stuff, go follow me on Instagram. I ended up splitting the questions up into homeschool related questions and just personal or parenting type of questions, because there were some really great questions that I wanted to be able to expand on just a little bit more. So today's video are all of the personal questions, and if you want to check out that homeschool Q&A, go ahead and check out that link above. So I'm just going to jump right into it. Some of these questions I expected to receive, and then some of them I didn't. So I'm excited to share. And like I did last time, I did not really prepare to answer these questions. I did glance over them, but I didn't prepare to answer them because I just want to talk to you like y'all are my friends, because you are my friends. So number one is, how do you juggle everything? Do you wake up early? Have a planner? Tips, please. So I do have a planner. I've just recently gotten the Ann Advance planner, so I will put, well, by the time you see this, I don't think her review has been up yet. I just did a review on her planner and I love it. But I'm waiting for her to have her baby any day now, and by the time you see this video, she may have had her baby, so I'm gonna give her a couple of weeks to adjust to newborn life before I share her Etsy site, so she doesn't get too many orders in these early weeks. So yes, I do use the Ann Advance planner for homeschooling. Most of my homeschooling and just motherhood, parenting, homemaking kind of stuff is very routine. It's stuff I've been doing for a long time, so I don't feel like I need to keep every detail, you know, of my life in a planner as of yet, but the homeschool planning definitely helps. And yes, I do wake up super early. I'm sorry, you guys. I wake up at 4:45, and I say I'm sorry because I don't want you guys to think that you have to wake up that early as well. But long story short, my husband worked for UPS for a long time, and anybody who works at UPS or has a spouse who works at UPS knows that initially when they work there, they work a very early morning shift or a very late night shift. My husband worked the really early morning shift as well as drove, so he would go in around 4:30, and then he would start driving around 9, and then he would drive until 6:30 or 7 at night when he would max out on his hours, and then come home and do it all over again. So at the time, actually he started working there before we got married, and you know, within our first couple of years of marriage, we had a couple of kids, and so in order to survive, I felt like I needed to wake up with him. First of all, with little babies and toddlers, I just felt like if I didn't get to at least have a cup of coffee with him, even in a rushed setting, and see him in the morning, that the first time I was seeing him, this is bringing me back, this is like breaking my heart, because I cannot believe it's been 10 years since we were, since, you know, I was a new mom and just this whole early marriage stuff. But I felt overwhelmed by the fact that the first time I would see him during the day was when he'd come home at 7 at night and he was tired, and our kids were going down for bed, and I was done, and he was helping me with baths, and then he was getting in bed because he was whooped and I was whooped, and I just felt like there was no quality there to our marriage. So I started waking up early with him. I would wake up around 4 and then have a cup of coffee with him, see him out the door, and then I would go back to bed. Well, eventually I just started to stay up during that time, and catching the sunrise and just kind of doing some of my homemaking stuff and getting on the same sleep pattern as him. So we would both go to bed early, like 8:45 or 9. Well, that became a pattern to where I really couldn't imagine my life other than when we're nursing, where I'm nursing. He does not nurse our babies. Other than when I'm nursing or very pregnant, at those times I would not wake up that early. I would give myself some grace for that season, but I always missed it and I longed for it. And as soon as my babies were sleeping through the night more consistently, I would try to wake up early again. I just feel so much more productive when I wake up that early. And this is probably just says more about my personality, because I'm somebody who even back in high school, I would wake up at 4:30 or 5, which is early. 5 is really early when you're in high school, to go for a run with my dad and or with my cross country team. And so I've always been kind of an early riser by nature, but not by parenting. It's definitely harder when you're a parent you're not really the same person sometimes as a parent. So I fight it a little bit. It's not my nature as a parent, but it is, you know, just the Abby sans parenting. I do love to wake up early. So the other reason I wake up that early is because besides YouTube, which I really want to do well with, I don't just want to give you guys like sloppy content. I try to make it, try to be very intentional with it and do well with the editing and the scheduling. So besides YouTube, I also do Usborne, which you guys probably know, and I also volunteer for a ministry that John and I absolutely love and believe in, and I do a lot of online editing kind of stuff for that ministry. So waking up at 4:45, 5 or 6 mornings a week gives me a lot of time to do that before around 6 o'clock, John and I start working together toward anything that we need to do for the day, which is like getting the kids breakfast, waking them up, kind of getting him out the door, getting the kids ready for school, and being a relaxed environment in the morning. So really it's only an hour and 15 minutes, but I call it my power hour. I can do a whole video on that. If you guys want to see that, give this video a thumbs up, and maybe I will do a video like that in November. But I just feel like an hour and 15 minutes is a really strong, solid amount of time that I can hole up at my computer. Nobody's distracting me. I'm not needing to leave and get anything done. The kids generally don't wake up that early. If they do, John is really sweet and gives me that time because he knows that I won't have another opportunity. He also wakes up that early, but he knows that I won't have another opportunity to kind of have a kid-free hour, except if it's at night, and I'm far less productive at night. And so just having that hour, for example, I can set up an entire Usborne Facebook party in the first 15 minutes of that hour that I'm working, and not where if I did that when the kids were awake and I was kind of cloudy mentally, that could take me a half an hour to 45 minutes. And so I feel like I'm able to put my best foot forward as far as the work that I'm doing beyond parenting and motherhood. I also spend some of that time prepping for school, anything that I wasn't able to prep on Sunday night. So wow, 8 minutes in already. Way to go, Abby. So next, are you gonna have any more children? I knew that question was coming, and I don't have a definite answer, but I have at least a temporary answer. So John and I are pretty sure that we likely will not have any more children, but of course you guys all know that unless you make a permanent decision about that, it's always on the table, which we wouldn't be upset if that happened. I think I might be a little bit sad for the life that I'm kind of starting to foresee now without being in the baby stage, but it is what it is. But we both still have like a little bit of a longing in our hearts to protect our future wants and desires, because neither one of us know for sure that 5 years from now we won't want more kids. I have mentioned before that I was adopted within a family. I was adopted, but it's still adoption. And there are things as an adopted child that I feel like I could definitely, I just feel like the Lord has given me eyes for that and a heart for that, coming from a situation like that. And I think my parents did it very, very well. But there's still longings and needs that you have that you don't know how to express as a child. And I would absolutely love to be able to pay that forward one day. But, and John, I think, is in the same place as far as that goes, but not now with little kids. But also, you know, there are days when I just miss snuggling up with our little newborn. I actually have right behind the camera, have a stack of boxes of all of Annabeth's little baby clothes that I need to go through because one of my girlfriends is having a little girl. And so it's like, okay, this seems like a more permanent decision for us because we're really getting rid of a lot of stuff. So I'm gonna go through and pick out a few of the little sleepers and things that mean a lot to me and kind of get rid of that. At the same time, I'm loving this stage of just like being able to work out and see it as more than like 3 or 4 months to get my body back in shape to have a healthy pregnancy. So I have a little bit of more long-term goals, so that's good. The other thing is, so our oldest is going to be 10 in the spring. And with all of my kids, I basically nursed them until I decided that we wanted to have another, and I wanted to stop nursing so I could have regular cycles again and get pregnant and all that. And even Eli, our largest gap is between Eli and Annabeth. I didn't stop nursing him until he was 2.5. And so, let's see, May of 2016. And then I found out I was pregnant with Annabeth in July of 2016. So even with him, I just was consistently nursing until I was pregnant again. And so now our youngest, basically I've been nursing her pregnant for almost 10 years. For 10 years, over 10 years. It was exactly 10 years actually, because I found out I was pregnant with Bella in July of 2008. And I weaned Annabeth for our anniversary cruise in July of 2018. So, but since weaning Annabeth, I have been trying to keep track of my cycles and everything. During the last few months that I was nursing her, I noticed that every single month I was getting sick, and it was getting progressively worse. Like I would get like head colds or, you know, just all sorts of stuff. And eventually, I could always figure out the timing was right around my cycle. And over the summer, I actually ended up in the hospital because I had just gotten so sick and my body was so run down. And at the time, they said that they suspected it was an autoimmune disease, and they gave me kind of a runaround of what they thought that could be related to having mono in high school, actually. So what I did is I just felt like maybe my hormones have been off because it's been so long. And so I decided that I wanted to start keeping track of things now that I'm not nursing, and present the information to my midwife. And you guys know as moms that it is really hard to keep track of things if it's not something that's like in your phone or right in your face. So I started using the Flo app, which is a period tracking app. But what it does is it tracks more than just your period. You can track everything from like your mood symptoms to your physical symptoms to, you know, heavy and light and all sorts of stuff. And what I noticed was that I was way off, and a lot of other things that I was struggling with beyond just physical things, like even just feeling some anxiety and all sorts of stuff, I was keeping track and seeing the patterns here in this app. So first of all, I'm happy to share that the Flo app is actually sponsoring this video, and I'm putting a link below. The app is free if you guys are interested in downloading it. It's very convenient to have it at your fingertips. But also, this is, I promise you, I have been using this since the summer, and them contacting me was a complete coincidence. And it was really a great reminder because I think that this goes hand in hand with what I'm sharing in this video, which is a lot of things physically can be thrown off or could be connected that we don't realize are connected. So I'm glad for that. So because of that, and because of all this data that I'm kind of compiling through this app and sharing with my midwife, I'm seeing that my body is a little bit off, and I would like to go through and pursue some treatment as far as anything holistic or whatever my midwife wants to do. And it may just be that I need to give my body quite a bit more time here because I just stopped nursing in July. So I know it takes a long time for your body to regulate itself again, but I don't feel like getting sick consistently, and my immune system being so weak has me in a place where I feel like it would be the healthiest decision right now for me to have another pregnancy at the moment. But I do feel like I'm young enough, I have plenty more fertile years ahead of me, that I can write that off forever. But health is important to me, and being the best that I can be for my kids, if it's possible, is a priority for me. Next, how do you stay Christ-like with your kids when they're misbehaving? Well, I appreciate that you think I do, but I don't. One thing that has helped me immensely is just the whole Charlotte Mason philosophy that children are born persons, and that the other thing is, I heard a quote once that has stuck with me forever, and that is that children are just unpracticed humans. And taking that approach to just believing that their behavior is not always reflective of us, and we don't need to take it all personally. They don't know how to communicate well because they're not practiced in it, and they don't always choose obedience because they're not practiced in it. And a lot of the struggles are not just related to obedience and disobedience, but a lot of times there's frustration or confusion or just the need to snuggle up that we're not seeing because things just aren't running as smooth as we would hope. One of the things is just making sure that we're making time for our kids to have a safe place to melt down. A lot of times with homeschooling, we have a lot more on our plates. Well, I know not everybody homeschools, but everybody has so much on their plates. If you work, if you homeschool, if you have, toddlers in the house, while you have older kids in the house, whatever your story, we all have the temptation to be overscheduled and overstructured. I'm definitely a type A personality, and I like to structure in and make sure that it's on schedule, that everybody will be obedient this day because we are way too busy this day. And so there is that temptation to just be go, 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 and that doesn't leave a lot of room for our kids to just rest. John and I actually sat down and did a whole, I think it was a couple of videos on like healthy discipline, and not necessarily punishment, but just like having a healthy, disciplined outlook on parenting. We are by no means the people who have any sort of authority to talk about this, but we did just share our hearts on the matter. So I will put it up here if you guys are interested in that. Also, I can recommend a couple of great podcasts. Celebrate Calm, I talk about it all the time, not sponsored, nothing like that, but I absolutely love the Celebrate Calm podcast. Oop, there's my baby. Okay, I don't remember where I was, so I'm just gonna keep going here. Let's see, rules for screen time. I don't know how you guys are gonna feel about me after I say this, because I don't wanna come across as too harsh, but we do not do screen time. My kids were gifted Kindles a few years ago. We tried it out, we ditched it. We actually still have them, and we thought we'd keep them for future use. Sometimes we would pull them out on road trips, but then we just discovered that even in that capacity, it was just not working for us. Then we did just get cable, which wasn't something that we have ever had just because of time restrictions. Like, we never had time to watch TV. And we've had it since like Father's Day weekend. We got a deal on Father's Day weekend, and we're still not loving it. Like, we feel like we're just wasting our money because naturally we just don't turn the TV on. There is one show that John and I watch, which is This Is Us. I'm making him watch it, so don't judge him by that. But other than that, like, we haven't found the time to make we haven't found the time to make screen time a part of our lives as of yet. I do not feel like I'm hurting my kids by that. They are 9 and 7, my older 2. My younger ones are 4 and 2 and have no business on screens as of yet. But my older ones, as it's appropriate, we will introduce it. They do teaching textbooks on the computer, which they think is a game, so that's a win-win for everyone. But as it becomes appropriate, age appropriate for them to learn how to use certain parts of technology, we will introduce it. We're not opposed to it as far as education goes, but as of right now, like, they play so well together, and they are super creative, and they love being outside. And as a family, there's so many of them that they get along well, and they do crave time alone, and they grab books when they want to be alone. And so it's really one of those things where, like, if it's not broken, don't fix it, and they haven't asked for it, and we haven't introduced it or seen a need for it as of yet. I will say, you'll hear me say next month, because I have a book haul, that I purchased books on coding for them. I think that that's going to be a fun way to introduce it together John and I with the older two to see if that's something that they're interested in doing on the computer. But again, that's not necessarily like a mindless kind of a game. It's just, we're gonna see if it's something they're interested in. It's not something John and I know anything about, but I also don't want our lack of information and interest to hurt the kids in any way. So we're gonna try it because I know it's something that's pretty popular right now and is something that kids are learning in school, so I don't want to hinder them as far as that goes. Resources or methods for a discouraging day. Okay, this was a question that was in the I put it in my homeschool questions, but then I decided that I didn't think that it was necessary. Like, I wasn't sure if it was necessarily a homeschooling question or not, but it goes hand in hand. Just being a mom is hard enough, so discouraging day, you're gonna have one whether you homeschool or not. Resources or methods for a homeschooling, or a hard day, a discouraging day. One, my biggest go-to, of course, is just prayer if I can remember. But to be honest with you, when I am upset, it is not the first thing quite often that I think of, but I found myself recently just kind of humming hymns that we are singing as part of our morning basket. And one of the reasons that I love doing hymn study with the kids is because it's giving me a second chance to look back at some of the words in the hymns that we sing and really pick them apart and make them a part of what I meditate on. And I'm seeing that that's something that's coming out when I'm stressed out, is to just start singing, because naturally I'm quick to say something that I want to take back, something stressful like, why are you guys doing this, or you know, something like that. So the fact that whether it's through clenched teeth or not, that hymns are coming out of my mouth in those moments is just, I don't even know, guys, that's proof of whatever you need. Also, let me think, resources for a discouraging day. Good friends. I have so many good friends, whether it's, and let's be honest, like, no marriage is perfect. So if it's something that I'm struggling with in my marriage, I have a friend who just knows our whole story through and through, who I can contact. If it's something with parenting, I have a couple of friends who I just really trust and who know my kids well and who love my kids well and don't think that, you know, my kids are just bad little kids or anything like that. So I feel like I have good friends and good family and just like good relationships, even with my husband, who I can contact in those moments where I want to stop myself from getting down or from feeling upset or from feeling bad about myself. Because a lot of times the discouraging day is just like, you didn't finish something that you wanted to finish. Nobody knew you wanted to get it finished, so nobody's mad at you, but you're just feeling down. And oftentimes it's just when there's, for me, it's just that there's nothing to look forward to, whether it's homeschool or whether it's like a trip or a day out of the house. You know, there are things that if it's like a Monday and I know we really have nothing going until Saturday and the kids aren't doing well and emotionally I'm not doing well, it's really easy. Hello. Hey babe. It's really easy to just feel super discouraged, and so in those moments would be where I would just have some fellowship, even if it's just through text messaging. Okay, next question. Favorite me time activity. What is that? I'm just kidding. I love the beach so much, and in the summertime I take my kids there and I bring my coffee. Joy from Joy-Filled Journey came down this summer and she was near my hometown, so we got to hang out, and I took her to the beach, her and her kids, and I was talking with her about like, oh, this is so fun because you're like one of my homeschooling girlfriends, and in the summertime my girlfriends and I come to the beach and we just bring our coffees and chat. And she was like, your hot coffees? I'm like, yeah, is that weird? Because it's so hot in Florida, but like my favorite thing in the whole world is having a coffee and just sitting at the shoreline and letting my kids play. And whether one of my girlfriends are there or not, like having coffee at the beach and just letting the waves, you guys, that's like my heart. I cannot believe sometimes that I was born in the Midwest because my heart lives and breathes the ocean. So that would be my all-time favorite me time activity. Now, obviously, it's not completely appropriate to be doing that every single day when we're trying to get morning basket done, but it is what it is. I also love YouTube, and that is something that is very challenging in a good way for me. I love having something on my agenda to get done, tasks to accomplish. I love being a mom. Like, there's nothing wrong with being a mom. This is all I've ever wanted, but also I love having a little bit of a challenge or a product to present, because I'm also very motivated by things like that. So that's something I love, and I love a good book at night. I love reading a good book in bed, whether it's a chick lit book or a classic literature book or whatever. I love reading a book in bed at night. Okay, the next question is, any advice for getting over insecurities that hold me back from starting a YouTube channel? I would say, and this is what I say to everybody who asks me about a YouTube channel, because I don't know how you would measure success on YouTube. I just enjoy doing it. So while it's really fun to see subscriber counts and video view counts or anything like that, just sharing is so great for me. This is something that I really love. So success aside, I think that being yourself, being authentic, and enjoying what you're talking about and not trying to be someone else online is the best thing about, or would be the best thing for your YouTube channel. Because honestly, if you come across as authentic on YouTube and on Facebook and in your friendships in real life, then that's kind of like the biggest hurdle that we have to tackle as far as having any sort of a social media presence. And so there's nothing really to be insecure about if you are sharing your true self. Because, you know, maybe if somebody were to say something negative about, like, this is the thing I probably get the most negative feedback on. I'm sorry if my boys are running in and out, so I hope it's not too loud on camera, but regardless. The thing that I get the most negative feedback about is food. It's so weird. Sometimes people will say like that, something negative about feeding my kids too healthy, and on the same video I'll get, or you know, a private message on Instagram or something like that about somebody saying that I am giving them too much sugar. In the same way, people will comment on my faith or say something about the fact that I'm a stay-at-home mom, thinking that it's kind of like a below the belt hit. But to be honest with you, those are all things that I'm really secure with, and I'm sharing the truth. I'm not fabricating meals or things to share. So if somebody wants to make a comment about a meal or saying you know, something negative in that light, it doesn't bother me, because it was all truth for me. Does that make sense? So faith and food and my life and my relationships, they're all things that I'm willing to share because they're all things I believe in, and it is the true Abby. So if you share your authentic self and you don't try to, definitely step out of your comfort zone as far as being comfortable and willing to share things, but don't fabricate anything, because there's nothing to be secure about in that sense. So always my number one tip is just be yourself and talk about things that you're comfortable with sharing and that you're confident in. Okay, favorite fall recipes. Guys, I love food, and I love the idea of fall. Fall, if it actually came to Florida and it was cold, I would probably hate fall, but I love like the fellowship that comes along with fall and the gatherings, which happen to all involve food, so maybe I just love food. Let's see. I have shared, I think the last couple of dinners of the week videos that I've done, I've had the pumpkin sausage pasta. That's my husband's favorite, and so it is mine as well. Favorite fall recipes. Ooh. We do a lot of fall family movie nights, so like any fun like little treats that involve pumpkin for my kids, we love those. You guys see my food as often as I do, actually, so you can tell me, what are some of my favorite fall recipes? And just in general, in the fall, I love to pull out my mama's cookbooks. She passed away a few years ago, and I have so many memories of baking with her, and I think that like in Florida, we don't bake a ton because of the heat unless it is the fall, and so just cooking or baking anything in the fall reminds me of her and the memories I have with her. So that's probably it, just anything baked, and then I'm baking with my kids, and it's all just fun. Okay. Oh, I do host Thanksgiving every year, and I will say that what's the name of I think it's Our Best Bites sweet potato casserole is like thebomb.com. It's sweet potato coconut casserole, and coconut fan or not, you're not allowed to bring any other sweet potato casserole to my Thanksgiving, because I love that recipe. I do make a little section without coconut because I know people like have allergies and things like that. Okay, how do I serve my husband as a Christ follower? You guys seem so close. Marriage tag. If you guys want to see a marriage tag, first of all, let me know below. I would be willing to do it. I know my husband would probably have a great time with it, but I don't want to put something up if you're not interested. This is such a testimony of God's goodness, just being asked this question, if you knew our story, because there is nothing about the way we went about our marriage or the way we went about our relationship when we were dating or the way we conducted ourselves in the first couple years of our marriage that would serve to have somebody ask us that question. So first things first, if you don't believe that God can take a mess and make it beautiful, you gotta email me. I would love to talk with you. So a couple of things, some practical things. Good friends, having friends who are kind of in the same life stage as you, but also friends who can serve as mentors to encourage you would be a great start. I think that a lot of the times that we struggle in our marriage with anything, whether it's just like a little bickering situation, having good friends and just knowing that you have people who, and whether, like, I'm not saying that we share every struggle with our friends, but just knowing that we have friends who would never let us get out of line is so helpful. But they're not easy to come across. And I will say that when we were married for about 2 years, we joined a Sunday school class. I just realized this is gonna be such a long video, I'm sorry. We joined a Sunday school class where we were literally at least 20 years younger than every couple in the class. And yet they all became some really great friends of ours. And it's so funny now because we felt so young and like we had 1 or 2 little ones, and all these parents were talking about college and sending their kids off to college, and we just felt so out of place. But now to be seen as like true friends and not just that they are our mentors. And we've left that church since that time, but a couple of other people come to the church we're in now. And so just to see like how those friendships have evolved over time has been so beautiful. But then through homeschooling and just life, we have found a few really, really good friends, and friends that both my husband and I really get along with and have a lot in common with. So good friends and good support, good family, and being a good friend as well. We are in the position on occasion too where we encourage and challenge other couples. It's not just that other couples are pouring into us, and that's a really great place to be with your spouse as well, is to be in the position to mentor younger couples as well. I did write down a couple notes about this question because, so practically speaking, good friends, praying together as awkward as it feels, having good counsel. We go to counseling every couple of years, even if we don't feel like we need it, because it's a good thing to be challenged and encouraged. Dates, value your dates. We do have a very consistent date night. We always have, even when his schedule was nutso. We still really put emphasis on our date nights. And a lot of times too, like when we're really just not fans of one another, the first thing whichever one of us is willing to be humble in that moment will say, I think we need a date. Even though that's probably the last person you want to go out with at the time, a lot of times that's just a sign that you have not had like good intimacy and conversation, or just in your time together at all. So date nights, be intentional with those. Did I write down anything else that's like super practical? Protecting the other one's privacy and encouraging their trust. Especially early on in marriage, there are so many circumstances where you're just like, what am I, like, you know, there's no secrets in marriage. And so when you're dating and you're putting your best foot forward, and then you're married and all of a sudden you can't really hide your worst foot all the time, you find things out about one another, or just, you know, as far as your ability to even live in the same house physically. Somebody's messy, somebody's clean, somebody doesn't like this, somebody likes that. That you want to, and your tendency, and I'm so guilty of it initially in your marriage, is to like complain or talk to other people or put the other one down. But choosing even in those small things, unless it's something, and I want to make it very clear, unless it's something dangerous or harmful, choosing to protect that other, to protect your spouse and know that one day you'll be grateful that you did protect their privacy or your marriage in that sense, will just build a trust and a vulnerability that you cannot, it can't be matched by any other relationship, and it's the most beautiful thing. Did I write down anything else? I really wanted to hit this one well, but it's not up to me if that happens. And then the last thing is saving the best for one another, especially when John worked very long hours. I would have the tendency to just call my friends and just chat about any and everything that happened in my day because I was lonely. But what I realized was that when he would come home and want to have a conversation, I had already given my best to someone else as far as sharing things that were making me excited or making me sad. And so we have valued our conversations together as well, and really just chosen one another in all sense of the phrase, like in our conversations, in the way we conduct ourselves, in what we're interested in. I mean, John knows a lot about things that I love. He is invested in a lot of things that I don't think he really would give a rip about had it not been for his commitment and love for me. And then I have to say that he 1000% lives out the, I think it's Ephesians 5, about loving one another like Christ loves the church, because there have been so many times in our marriage that I have not been the one to walk by faith, and he has, in his responses to me and the way that he loves me so well, has really encouraged the beauty in me and to serve that, you know, to serve him in the same sense. And so that is just such a good and true passage of scripture, that you can really love somebody and make them beautiful in your willingness to love and serve them. But like I said, man, I could probably do a whole nother video, and unfortunately it just involves so many other people whose stories I'm not either one, willing to bring back into my conversations, or you know, just distant family and stuff that I would rather not share. But our testimony, guys, is so, man, I will share one day. But you guys know, I'm sure from other videos, that when we got married, I was pregnant with our oldest, and at that time we did what we thought was right, to make amends for what we thought, you know, was wrong and is wrong. But nothing about our first, even our dating relationship or our first year of marriage, was us choosing one another, and we both pretty much resented one another for quite some time. And man, God is good, because he is really made a broken story beautiful. And now I could not imagine knowing the Lord like I know him now if our story did not have so many twists and turns, and we had not been put in a position to rely on nobody else but him. And so, and even over one another, because there have been times early on in our marriage where, like, we really saw each other as enemies. So like I said, to be asked that question is a super, just a reminder for me to be so thankful for what the Lord has done. Okay. This is so long. I'm so sorry. Okay, I'm gonna try to go through these as fast as I can. Favorite children's book list. I love books. I'll tell you that my favorite book of all time is Cranberry Thanksgiving. It's almost November, so it's a good time to put that in here because of the memories made with my kids with that book. And I think that all the books that I really love have to do with just the memories of reading them with my kids. So I'll do a whole nother video on our favorite book list, because that would be a really good and fun video to film. How to be an Usborne consultant. That goes hand in hand. Should I do a whole nother video on that one? If you guys are interested in that, let me know. You can also contact me on my Raising Reading Rockstars page if you are interested. That's my Usborne page. I'll try to put that below as well. If you guys are interested in being an Usborne consultant, I will tell you this. I have been asked to do other multi-level marketing type of programs before, and I've always purchased the products from my friends, and a lot of products I love. I love oils, I love some of the skincare, I love the nail companies, but it's not been a perfect fit in our lives. We love the Usborne books. It is an extension of what we're doing here at home and what I'm already sharing here online. And I will say that, you know, if I'm passionate about anything, well, I'm passionate about a few things, but I am also passionate about education and books and the enjoyment of reading together. That probably wasn't even proper the way I said that, but so Usborne is an easy and fun and motivating job. That being said, practically speaking, it does not take a lot of my time, and I have always seen that the investment of my time that I put in, I get a great investment back as well. So if you're interested in that, I'll put a link below to where you can contact me about that. I will say too though, they don't require anything financially from me, and they don't require, unless I want to promote any sort of sales. You can just join and do things casually if you want to. Have you ever let go of yourself? If so, how did you get back on track? After our youngest was born, I definitely noticed that my patience and my kind of like emotional well-being suffered a lot. I think that we had a bunch of like humongous life changes between his job and we did have like, I had a surgery. I had my appendix out almost immediately after she was born. We had 2 major hurricanes come through our area, and a whole lot happened in the first 18 months of our youngest life. And I think that it has caused me to maybe have some like anxiety where I didn't have that before. Kind of see things a little more gray than I gray, I don't know. But I will say again, keeping track of like what's going on with me hormonally has helped so much. And I see that a lot of it is just me being overscheduled as well. So, a lot of times it's just looking at your schedule and seeing, you know, what's going on, what's causing you to feel burnt out. But that would probably be a let's talk video that I would love to do soon. Yes. So I'm not answering your question, but I think that that would take about just a lot of time to answer on here. But again, if you're practically speaking, again, waking up early and getting motivated and not feeling like you're running behind schedule all the time is a great way to kind of gauge if what you're dealing with as far as feeling like you're letting go is something that is just like a schedule or a physical issue, or if it's something that you're struggling with emotionally. And if that's the case, then again, good friends and good counsel could set you in a great place for that. Am I a Beachbody coach? No. I love the Beachbody programs. I will never be a Beachbody coach because, I don't know. I love the program, I do, but I also love to do things besides just that program, and I don't know enough about it as far as like if you can encourage things that are not just Beachbody programs, but I don't like to feel confined to one area of fitness. Motivation and self-discipline as a mom and homemaker. So that's basically exactly what I've been saying before. Find something that challenges you and doesn't just take from you. See the hard moments, the laundry, the dishes as blessings that you have the laundry to do and the dishes to do. Even the grocery shopping can be made into something that's a good experience between you and your kids. I think relationship is more important than anything that you do physically. So guarding your relationship with your children and your spouse and finding the joy in those little things will motivate you naturally, but also, again, practically speaking, waking up early, having a plan, and not feeling like you're behind all the time is very helpful as far as having some momentum and enjoying it more, having a better quality of life as far as homeschooling goes. So I'm sorry that was so long. I did not mean for it to be that long. I hear the baby, which is perfect timing because I just finished. If you guys liked that video and you stuck around till the end, give it a thumbs up. That feedback helps so much here on YouTube as far as what I'll do again in the future, and as far as just kind of interacting with you guys. So that's super helpful when you give feedback and you respond in that way. I will see you guys soon. I hope that answered all of your questions.